Hello, are we live, Tiffany? It's been a while.
I think so. It's been a long time. I don't remember where I go to see comments.
We will find out. Good evening.
Hi, everybody. Hello.
We're doing something a little bit different today because if we are live, we'll see. I guess we'll find out. It's the usual live stream about how to have a live stream. So, did you decide to have a drink or no?
I do have a drink, but I haven't started it yet. I'm still like getting set up.
Meantime, okay, cool.
Folks, it looks like
So,
people are jumping on.
okay, excellent. So today we are going to focus a little bit specifically on the Brex cache. And I know some people are like, why do you keep talking about this? And some people are confused about it and saying, why are you talking so much about it? Well, this is actually a very cool new product. It's not often I think we see something disruptive come into the market that's also very lucrative for those looking to earn points. When we first learned about this offer, I mean, what are the big offers we've seen in the past that were amazing? They've always been credit cards, but I'm thinking
Right.
back like, okay,
It's been a minute since we've had something that was like legitimately really good and not complicated.
and
Like maybe the Ritz card a few years back when you got like the two or three free nights the first year, but that was what, like 2016?
and that was not even that was I mean that
Like
was
we've
pre
had good
five
offers,
point
don't
four.
get me
So
wrong, right? We've had like tons of ways for people to maximize their spend and like take advantage of loyalty programs and the opportunities and sort of democratize your travel with points. Like it's not like there's been nothing. This is just particularly fun.
well, this is particularly good, and it's better than any credit card bonus we've seen. And of course, this is not a credit card. We'll get into that in a second. And it's also no fees, potentially easier to be approved for if you have a business. So, I mean, I guess we should just probably get straight into that. I chose to have an espresso, which is actually a bad idea because it's hitting me 30 seconds in, and I'm like, oh. But what are you having?
Just bourbon, straight bourbon on ice. I just poured it all over my wrist too. So that's really fun.
Do you make your own ice cubes in like an ice? Because you have the
Hmm.
nice ice cube things.
We do, but I am not like really serious about it. I'm just saying that somebody who is really serious about their cocktails would look at my ice and they'd be disappointed because it's not clear.
I was about to ask it, is it ice density or what is it? How do you make it so? What is the actual thing that
I
makes it
don't know. I
clear?
read something that like you can use distilled water or like boil water, and I was like, I'm not boiling water to make ice. My life is hard enough.
Yeah, that's complicated.
And that was sort of the end of that. That is an option for me. So hi, people who are joining in.
Okay, well, I mean, let's just get into it then, I guess, with Brex
Okay, so we
Cat.
are talking about Brex. Let's see kind of my pictures work that I made. Yay, look at that. Can you see that?
So I remember when we first learned about Brex Cash, and Tiffany was telling me about it because, well, as that often works, and you're like, okay, well, so it's this no fee
We're
product,
gonna do
and
a
they were,
thing, and you're gonna love it.
and they want to offer up to 110,000 points, and they offer 8 times points on some categories, but it's not a credit card, and it's not a debit card, and it's not a checking account. And I was like, huh? For many reasons, because A, I'm like, no fees, how are they being so rewarding? And B, if it's not a credit card, a debit card, or a um, checking account, what is it? So, do you want to introduce it, I guess?
No, I mean, I think that that's perfect. Like, I think Brex started originally just sort of meet this need of startups who have sort of different business needs than brick and mortar businesses or larger businesses. Like things are just sort of messy. A lot of those businesses are extremely online. They maybe have term sheets and funding coming in, but they don't necessarily have personal credit, that applies to their business. So that's why Brex started, was to be able to offer like credit products and loans and options for just these businesses that didn't really have a financing option. Unbanked businesses, like, is that a thing? um, so they've expanded it, and they've had like mostly credit card products and stuff that we've talked about like the past couple of years. But the Brex Cash is new, and I think that's why it's weird for people, because it's like new and like you're saying, it's different.
Makes sense. I mean, it's one thing when you see a new credit card that has new benefits, but it's even different when it's a completely different category of product. So, I mean, Brex Cash is basically a cash managed business, what business, not cash managed business management account. So
Right.
it works with your credit cards potentially and with your business checking account.
Right. I think the way that they describe it that makes sense to me is it's an alternative to business checking. So pretty much all the things that you could do with your business checking account, you could do with Brex. It's just not technically business checking because it's not technically a bank.
It's similarly when you spend money on their card, you're not technically spending money on a credit card. But I mean, it's kind of a tech company type thing. And the nice thing about that is they're actually good at the tech side of it. That like Brex's website is phenomenal. So whether
Yeah.
it's bill pay or anything, even there, I mean they and also exciting is they have a transferable points. Okay, now I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So
you keep
you're
us organized.
that's
Sorry.
our fifth thing. We're going to talk about,
Okay.
let's talk about the application process first. I think people have been a little confused about that. So let's talk about just the general application process and some things that people have been asking about that.
So
So
yes, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was going to say, go ahead. Like you did this. It was not hard.
I did. It was surprisingly easy. So I mean, so you fill out, and then this is the cool thing. So you have to provide your social security number, but there's no credit pull here. So that is required to apply. The process took, I think, 7 minutes, and that includes having taken screenshots the entire way,
Yeah.
which slows me
And
down. So
and I think speaking of you taking screenshots, so about a third of the way through, and this is different than any other application I've ever seen. It's like a third of the way through that you actually choose which Brex account you want. And
and
that's
that
been
is
tripping people up.
And that is an important point. I will say I do find some aspects of the marketing confusing. So you have Brex Cash, which is the product that you probably want to apply for. Because, for example, for your business account, there's no minimum checking account balance, which versus if you apply directly for the Brex card, which is a separate product. But it's also confusing because if you get the Brex Cash, you do get a Brex card, but it is not the same Brex card that requires the 50,000 minimum. So,
Right.
but
So
stay.
basically, there's three options. You want to choose the one on the left of the screen that says just cash. That's the one that you want, unless you have like more than $50,000 cash on hand, or you have like a massive term sheet type of situation. If you're one of those businesses, then the Brex with monthly statements might be a good option for you. It's just because it's a 30-day float, there are more approval requirements. So, but for most people, I think the Brex Cash works just fine. Unless because it's just about your cash flow.
And then, so the bonus is up to 110,000 points, which is a lot because, as we'll talk about in a bit, you can redeem points either for a cent each, or you can transfer them to airline partners. I would rather transfer them to airline partners, but at a minimum, 110,000 points would be worth $1,100, which is a lot for
Right.
a product
For,
like this.
for
So
trying something out, right? Yeah. Let's see. What do I put in the referral code box in the application? You don't have to do that. You don't have to put anything there. Everything. So that this bonus that Ben is talking about, the 110,000 point bonus, it's 80,000 points from 1 mile at a time, and then there's 30,000 points that you can get in other ways. So to get the 80,000 point bonus, like you don't have to do anything other than use the links on 1 mile at a time.
And just for how that's broken down, it's 80,000 points for spending $1,000 on the Brex card that you get. Then it's 10,000 additional points for spending 3,000 on the card. And so the 10,000 point, that's part of the normal bonus, not the 1 mile at a time bonus, but you get that as well. And then there's the 20,000 bonus points when you link your payroll to your Brex cash. So that's how you get to 110,000. So the minimum, just for spending 3,000 on the Brex card, that would be 90,000 points. That's 80,000 plus 10,000, and then an extra 20,000. So that is how you arrive at those points.
I like it. Should we skip ahead and talk about those a little bit?
I mean, I love
110,000 points because that's the more fun part. So like you said, there's 80,000 points and for signing up through 1 mile at a time. And this is, I think, confusing to people. You just have to trust us.
Yes. So after you are approved, which hopefully you will be, you will see there's a little dashboard. It shows, your progress towards the bonus. That shows the standard bonus, which is up to 30,000 points. That's 10,000 and 20,000 for payroll and spending 3,000. But there is an additional 80,000. They do that manually because that's part of the special 1 mile at a time bonus. That's how you're getting the extra 80,000 points. You have to trust us. They will post. They have posted for people, and they will continue to post.
Yeah, probably like 7-ish days after you meet that $1,000 minimum spend is about when you'll see it. But it's a little bit like transferring points to JAL from SPG back in the day, where like
You
you
never
gotta
know.
wait for the lady in the office who's in charge of the points transfers to come in because these are getting like manually added. So you're not missing anything. There's nothing in the tracker. They will show
Well,
up.
everything else with Brex is so instant, which is unlike some other, well, I guess not card issuers because they're not a card issuer, but with some, for example, Capital One, you get your points instantly almost after spending. Similarly here, if you spend money on the card, if you do any points earning activity, the points post very quickly. So that's why I think
Right.
it's confusing to some people. The 80,000 points, they will not post right away. They'll post a few days, maybe a week later, but they will post
Yeah,
if
and
you.
it's especially confusing to your point because the 10,000 points for me spending $3,000 or the 20,000 points for linking your payroll link super fast, or they post super fast. So Trevor was asking about that. Like, can you confirm any data point around deposits from PayPal counting as sales revenue for the 20,000 point bonus? Does any deposit work? Um, I think so. From what we're hearing, the official terms say that like when you have business income deposited to your PayPal account and then swept to Brex, that's when you get the points. We didn't do this with PayPal. We did it with Stripe because we don't use PayPal for our business. But as soon as we had our first, I'll show you guys a screenshot of it, um, deposit from Stripe Post, then we got the 20,000 points like an hour later. It was super fast.
Can we still talk about points? Because you tempted me with points, and then we didn't actually get
Yeah,
to talk
I
about.
was just trying to
Yeah.
ask people's questions about
Yes.
this and like when
Yeah.
they get the bonus points. Because then people also have questions about like getting that 20K bonus for payroll or business income. And like Brian was asking how well it works with Gusto. Super easy. Like everything, it's an ACH transfer, just like everything else. The only difference there, which I don't know if it's important for people to know or not, is that if you've been using Gusto for a while, or Gusto, I don't know how to pronounce words. I don't know if people know that about me. And you're no help because half the time you give me the German pronunciation of something.
My parents, yes, my
Yeah. So however you say that particular payroll provider, uh, they've been doing this thing where like you can get your deposits more quickly or your payments get sent more quickly based off of your business checking balance. And I basically just had to redo that process. So it was a couple annoying days of like, send us a screenshot of your balance in order to get back to the same pace that I had. But otherwise, it's just ACH, super easy. Any other questions people have about that? Let us know. What else do you want to talk about with points, Ben? All the points.
Okay, so I mean, who doesn't love transferable points currencies in general? Because if you're collecting points and you don't want them to value, especially right now because who knows what the future holds. But generally, you're pretty safe earning, for example, Amex points or Chase points or Citi points or Capital One points. I'm really excited because with Brex we have a whole new transferable points currency. Even though Brex is relatively new and this product is new, they already have 8 airline partners that you can transfer points at a 1-to-1 ratio to. So it's really exciting how flexible those points are. So if you have Brex points, you can redeem them for a cent each in a variety of ways. So you could get them literally as cash back. You could do gift cards. I mean, in general, cash back is better, but for business accounts, sometimes people might prefer as an incentive giving someone a gift card or something. Whatever the implications there might be. But they also have airline transfer partners. So that includes, for example, Air France KLM Flying Blue, Avianca Life Miles, Emirates Skywards, which has become a much better program, by the way. I need to do a post about that
Right,
because
especially like if you're willing to spend a little, that combination of like upgrades with points or just
it's a good,
the general way
nice.
things are working now without the fuel surcharges. Yeah, it's pretty good.
They've gotten better. JetBlue, TrueBlue, and then Singapore KrisFlyer, and there's a couple of others. But I mean, that can get you a lot more value than the 1 cent per point. So, for example, I mean, on the most basic level, JetBlue, TrueBlue, you can typically redeem TrueBlue points for 1.3 to 1.4 cents each towards the cost of JetBlue flights. So 110,000 points, what is that? Close to $1,500 potentially of JetBlue travel. Personally, I would redeem those 110,000 points on Emirates. At some point, New York, Dubai or something.
Right, but like if you think about it from a perspective of a lot of these businesses, like domestic travel is so bad. And I know that you don't do a lot of it, but I did like in 2019 so much awful domestic business travel. And so being able to use points for Mint when, those tickets are when you can get them in advance and they're not like crazy expensive, but they're maybe more expensive than you would necessarily buy. I don't think it's a terrible option.
And there's the Mint Suites soon and the Mint Studio. So we'll see how many
Right.
points that requires. That's
Right.
it's
So
like
I mean,
the
I think that you're probably better off with with JetBlue, but every business is different. Like just buying the ticket and earning points, because in general, like I don't think transferring points to JetBlue is my first choice.
correct. Yeah, well,
But
especially because JetBlue Mint, they have redemption rates are higher. You don't get quite as much per point, so it is often
right,
better to go through the portal. And you can redeem Brex points as well for 1 cent each towards the cost of flights. But the better option is probably to book a paid ticket to pay with your Brex card and then just refund yourself. The reason is because you still earn points that way. So if you use your Brex card for that purchase, you earn, I think it's 4 times points.
4 times on travel, I
So
think.
that way you would basically, so if you booked $1,000, if you had 110,000 points, you could reimburse yourself 1,100 bucks. But then if you spend $1,100 in airfare, you'd earn another 4,400 points by spending you book through Brex Travel. So they have a good online portal,
Right. And that's
especially
actually
them.
an interesting thing. Like we would not ever use this because if you tried to book travel for me, I don't know, and vice versa, how that would go. Like we're
Probably
both
not well.
so OCD about like how exactly we want everything to be all the time. I don't know that would work well. But Brex partners with travel banks. So if you have a small business and you're occasionally booking travel for other people, like it is sort of nice to have some backup potentially, especially if the people who you're booking travel for are not savvy travelers in your company, which happens. Like I laugh, my husband's company, they do an offsite. I mean, not now, but in the before times, yeah, like 3 or 4 times a year. And it's easy for Nick because he's booking from Spokane to Portland on Alaska and like the credit card is saved in the account, like he can't get it wrong. But other people have like a lot of questions and it's very complicated. So
Sure.
yeah, so that could be interesting.
Any questions on redeeming? Or is there anything I missed on redeeming points?
I
Also,
think
they
that's
transfer. I tried a few transfers. I'll do a full thing. Most of them seem to transfer instantly. And the cool thing is also keep in mind that a lot of these programs also partner with other transferable points programs. So, for example, you might say, okay, I want to transfer these points to Emirates, but I don't have quite enough Brex points for whatever I want to book. You can potentially also transfer points from Amex or what Chase is an Emirates Skywards partner to top off for redemption. So it's nice to be able to combine points for that.
yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about earning your points at the beginning. So Mike just asked a question because I think this is confusing for people in ways. So like right now I've got ADP charging my business bank account, which is Chase. I guess I would change it to Brex. Yeah, you want to go through Brex and link it to do that. And then you'd link Brex. You're saying link Brex to the Chase, but you'd link Brex right to ADP and do the ACH stuff. And it would activate the 20,000 points after you run your payroll. So, yep, should be pretty straightforward.
Can I say one more thing about transferring points?
Yes, we can go
Okay,
back and
so
forth about
in
transferring
addition to
points as
transfers
much as
almost
you
being
want.
instantly, this just came. Okay, the other nice thing is, so a lot of programs are restricted with who you can transfer your points to. So you can transfer your Brex points to, if you're transferring to an airline program, to anybody who's listed on your Brex account. So you can add any person in your business to your Brex account. You can do it instantly online. You just enter their name. I don't think anything further is needed. You enter their name, and then when you go to transfer points, they appear in the dropdown. So that's a great amount of flexibility because with a lot of other programs, you don't have nearly that kind of flexibility to transfer points to others. So that is exciting.
Yeah, that is. And that's a perfect segue because I want to talk about setting up your Brex account because people have questions about that. And like Dan asked, one thing that isn't clear, how soon do I have to spend $1,000 and does it have to be on the Brex card? Also, how do I get the number if I don't have the physical card yet? So, yes, the spending $1,000 or spending the $3,000 to get the extra 10K is all for spending it on the Brex card. But how do you get the number if you don't have the physical card? You want to talk about virtual cards?
I don't actually have a physical Brex card because I was like, oh, this is cool. Because a lot of banks advertise that they have virtual cards, but then I find it is not. It's quite complicated. But Brex, they have virtual cards. The second you're approved, you should have access to your virtual card. You can start spending. You can start also making. What is it when you can change the card number? What's that called? So that for if you have a subscription, those annoying things like.
Right. So you can set up a virtual card, and it's not that you just have to be like, okay, Ben gets a virtual card and Tiffany gets a virtual card. Like Ben can have 30 virtual cards. If you want to have one just for Lyft or, just for your other ride share and you have someone else you want to use just for whatever, you can set up however many cards you need for however many people you have in your business.
That is very easy.
And yes, it works with Apple Pay. Is there questions that it doesn't work with Apple Pay? I don't know. So there is that.
And it's also it's when you're spending, when you're using it, because it's not a credit card, but when you're spending on it, you're earning points. I mean, I guess basically, because this is, I think, confusing, it's a World Elite, or it has World Elite MasterCard benefits.
Right.
So presumably, for the purposes of the merchant, it's like paying by credit card. So
Right.
you can't use this if it's a debit card. If it's a place that only accepts debit cards, you're not going to be able to use your Brex card, but you can use it the same way you could use a credit card. Technically, it's not a credit card because the money is coming out of your Brex account, which is linked to your checking account. So it doesn't have the same, oh, you pay us in 30 days.
Right. And you're saying, but I want to be careful because you're saying that like it's linked to your checking account, but it's not really like that. You have to fund your Brex Cash account and then it's its own account. So I took a picture of our account so people could see. Let me see if you guys won't be able to see our faces. I'm going to cover our faces. So you can see like the deposit from Chase. So then we had like $5,000 in the Brex account. And every single day you can see like the only transactions basically are Brex card and it's just card payment and whatever amount. Or then deposits from Stripe because we linked that. So how that works basically, well, let me make this smaller and you guys can see our faces again now that we've explained that. What Brex does is however many transactions you're making on your Brex card, which you swipe, right? Or you're doing your virtual card, you're typing it in. At the end of the day, your statement closes. So all of your charges on your Brex card get automatically debited from your Brex Cash account. And it's, one line item in your Brex Cash. And as everything gets subtracted for the end of the day. And then if you're out of money in your Brex Cash account, you have to put more money in your Brex Cash account.
And then so when you're spending money on the credit card, you're earning points you're earning points as if it's any rewards card. So you're earning, and you earn at the rate of, what is it? So it's let me see what it is. It's 8 times points on rideshare, which is very good. Right now, I use, for Uber, for example, that would be the best right now. There's nothing that offers a comparable return that I can think of for Uber rides. Right. So it's 8 times on rideshare and then 5 times on Brex travel, is it? Or 4 times, 4 to 5, give or take. 4 times on restaurants. Well, it's the paid daily or paid monthly version? I guess it
paid
depends.
Daily. So, this is the whole thing. It's the paid daily. Almost everybody's going to have the paid daily because the paid monthly, you have to have like a term sheet or like $50,000 in cash reserves.
Blah, so then it's actually 5 times points on Brex travel, 4 times points on restaurants and dining, 3 times points on Apple purchases, which is actually pretty cool because there's not otherwise. Like I desperately, as Tiffany knows, need a new laptop, and I keep waiting for portal bonuses. But then I realize
have not had enough to drink to talk about your laptop situation.
The portal bonuses exclude the new Apple product, so I realize, I don't know why I haven't thought of this, but I should order my new laptop and use the Brex thing because that way I earn 3 times points.
Yes.
Okay. So
today, anyway. Possibly even that should be your blogiversary present to yourself for Thursday. Since I'm not getting you a blogiversary present this year.
Okay,
just letting you know in advance.
It's February. It's
Thursday. Yeah, I have not gotten that organized enough. So that's a lot. You're on your own for buying your own present. You're at least getting 48 hours notice.
All the new MacBook and some whatever the AirPod things are. I don't know. I need to get that. It's a whole different situation.
Yeah. Okay, so since we're talking about the difference between the cash and the card, do you earn points for the banking features?
Generally, no, right?
Right, yeah, no.
But how few fees there are, well, basically there's no fees, which is amazing because that is something, otherwise with most bank accounts, you would pay fees for all this stuff. There's no foreign transaction fees on credit card purchases, on Brex card purchases, but also there's no fees for just to maintain the account. There's no minimum balance required. There's no fees for wire transfers, ACH, international, anything.
I think you can only do wires in US dollars currently, but I also think that's fine because you could always use TransferWise or something for non-US wires.
Is there actually anything that has fees with Brex? Like I can't figure out that there's no fees, period.
There's no fees. No.
Like very few accounts of any sort have no fees at all.
Right, no fees and no minimum. So that's something a lot of people were asking in the comments, like, well, how long do I have to keep this account open? And it's like, I don't know. I asked, but I don't think that they're actually prepared for the question of why would, like, it's like, why would you want to close this? Like, there's actually no fees. We don't care if you keep $1 in the account. It's
And
fine.
there's no downside to.
And and it reports good standing to business credit bureaus. Like, this isn't at all linked to your personal credit. So that's beneficial for, businesses to start building up their corporate credit too.
And that also gets at another benefit of keeping it, which is the Brex, the additional rewards that maybe Tiffany can talk more about, similar to, like, we have Amex offers and Chase offers where you can
The
save a lot of
marketplace
money.
partners, yeah. So yeah, marketplace partner offers. So I don't know if you guys have noticed this. And Ben, have you written about this yet? I know we talked about your
I'm working on it. I because it's a lot of information, and I'm like, I'm trying not to overwhelm too much with this, but
it's one Brex
sorry.
a day. Right? That's been the thing. I mean, it's a legitimately good offer, and I don't think people believe that we're actually, like, you're having to limit yourself to only write about it once a day.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. Okay, so they have all of these marketplace partners. Ben, lean out. Then people can see. You don't have to lean that far out, just like a little bit out. Come back halfway. Keep coming. There you go. That's great. So there's all these different partners. Like Ben was talking about the 3 times points on Apple Pay. Other people have mentioned Gusto, which is what we use for payroll. If you're not currently doing anything with payroll, they're partners with Gusto, and you can get like a big discount, or Payoneer, or some of the others. Like, it's worth looking at all of these and sort of seeing, like, what are these things that they offer that might be good for your company. Some of them you might already use. Like, we already use Slack, and others we don't use, but it's like, oh, I've been thinking of trying that out, so maybe I'll do that and I'll take advantage of the discount. Fundamentally, they work in 2 different ways depending on which partner it is. Maybe 3 different ways because of Apple. So like Apple, it's just you get 3 times points on Apple purchases when you use their portal and you pay with your Brex card. It's just pretty straightforward. For others like Gusto or Expensify or things like that, it says that they're for new accounts only. So you just have to, like, click on these in your account and then look at the terms, and it tells you whether they work on new accounts or existing accounts. For existing accounts, and this is how both Slack and AWS work, you're basically registering for the offer just like you would for an Amex offer and linking your accounts. And then as long as you pay with your Brex card, you get statement credits in your account. So for Slack, it's like 25% off the first year, which ends up being like $200 in statement credits. And for AWS, it's at least $5,000 in statement credits. And that works even if you already have an existing AWS account. And depending on your business, like if you qualify for AWS Activate, it can be $100,000 in credits, which sounds like an impossible number, but because, yeah, then you're like, what? What can we open that uses AWS?
I was gonna say.
But really, that's just going to depend on, like, the size of your company, right? Like, $5,000 in AWS credits would host Points Pros for like 2 years, but it's maybe 15 minutes for a big tech company. So, it depends. And by even like a big tech company, you might be like a small big tech company. So it just depends what you use. So that's sort of how those work. I don't know if you have other questions or things you want to add about that.
I mean, the problem is I pass this over because I'm so low tech that I had to do some Googling for some of these things. I had heard of Apple, but I think that's about the only one. But fortunately, thank goodness we have Tiffany, so that I now reluctantly use Slack as of today. So I can recommend it.
That was a very gracious way to say that. You're like, yes, I can recommend Slack because the alternative was apparently having a banshee go loose on my computer. Okay, this is a good question. Mike is asking, if you have 2 companies and you can sign up and get the 80,000 points each, can you merge your rewards points between accounts? So I think 2 questions here, because the first one is, can you get a Brex account for multiple businesses?
Yes.
Yeah.
You absolutely can. So it's based on the business rather than the person. So if you're as long as you have, it needs to be what, an S corp, C corp, LLC, or it can't be a sole proprietorship basically. As long as you have a business that is not a sole proprietorship, you can get one for one or multiple.
A U.S. business.
U.S. businesses.
Even if you are not a U.S. citizen or resident, it's just got to be a U.S. business. But so then, can you merge your rewards points between accounts? I mean,
The bigger question is, I mean, I'm not sure there's necessarily a huge benefit to doing so, because if you're using the cash option, then you can cash out, for whatever, 1 cent each, or if you're transferring points, then you can transfer them to a partner. And there's no reason to close a Brex account in the sense that there's no fees or anything, so your points stay there. It's not like Citi where you have, an annual fee card and you want to close it and then your points expire after 60 days. Just keep your, if you do ever want to close your Brex account, just keep it until you want to redeem. There's no downside to keeping it, I think. So I don't think there's a way to transfer them between accounts. But
no,
like
and I don't think for accounting purposes you'd necessarily want to, because of the fact that it can be cash.
Right.
So,
and
but I mean, you can transfer to anybody, so that helps.
Yeah.
So
the ease of transferring to others is great.
That's all. Yep. Okay, so one of the problems that people have come up with is people getting declined, saying I didn't meet the minimum cash requirements. You want to talk about that?
So that means you applied for the wrong product. You probably applied just for the Brex card, right?
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to understand. Is like, this is not a, if you're applying, for example, for Chase business cards, like it is, it can be very hard to get approved, especially based on what other credit cards you have. That's not to say everybody's going to get approved for Brex Cash, but I mean, it's a different process in general. You're linking your bank account, and most people who have legitimate businesses that are not sole proprietorships based in the US are getting approved if they're doing it correctly. There are some quirks, like, for example, you need to provide a business email address. So I feel like a lot of the people getting declined for the minimum balance amount, I think there might be problems with their applications where maybe they're not entering the right things or following instructions so well,
or just I think it's weird to be selecting the product that you want like a third of the way through the application.
It can be confusing a little bit, but I mean, we're hearing mostly that people are being approved quite regularly.
Yeah, most people seem to be getting approved. So like if you are running into application problems, let us know. Some people have not been approved, and that's something that I think is a little complicated. Like if you don't have a business website or you use Gmail for your business, that's technically fine, but we're seeing that those businesses are not always getting approved right away. I guess just because there's less for Brex to look at. Because again, like they're not pulling your personal credit report. So it's like, how else do they determine that you exist?
You only have so much to go off of here. So it's, and I mean, you actually get potentially approved before you even enter your bank account information, right? I'm trying to remember the order. I think you link your bank account after you get approved?
Not necessarily, no. Because that's one of the things that they look at. So when you link your business banking account, they're running it through Plaid, which a lot of people know because it powers if you use Mint or you need a budget or anything like that. Like all that stuff runs through Plaid. And so do a lot of like check verification services and things like that. Howie, you just said something was correct, and we have no idea what we said was
what
correct.
I said correct, or what?
Yeah, we just said like 8 things.
Important clarification here.
Yeah, I think there's a lag, so he'll be back in like 30 seconds with whatever it was that we were correct. So when you're linking your business bank account, they're seeing like that history. So if you are somebody who opens and closes bank accounts a lot for bonuses, which is not something that we do, but we've heard from some people who are like, I only opened 8 business accounts last year. You may not be approved immediately.
I mean, and understandably, I mean, I can't blame them for, I mean, all
things considered.
It's not a bank. All companies have try to put things in place that, encourage profitable behavior. And, when I first saw this, I was like, what a great bonus. But then when I looked at the actual account, I said, okay, well, this seems too good to be true. Forget the 110,000 points, but a no fee account that is, okay. So Howie says bank linking happens after approval. That was my experience as well, I thought. So,
Well, I'm glad you guys are paying attention.
So I mean, yeah, based on the fact that they don't, there's no credit pull and they're going after, yeah, you supply your EIN during the process, but there's no, your account is linked afterwards, yes. So
Yes. And then even though everything's based off of business credit and you're doing your EIN, like people have to put their social security numbers on the applications. Do you want to talk about why?
yes,
Talk about why?
what is it? I mean, what, is just a government requirement or?
Yeah, I think it's just Patriot Act stuff. But I think, I mean, people have been confused about like, does it count towards 524? And like, why are you asking for my social security number? And
The answer is no, it does not count towards 524. And well, they're asking because they have to, I guess. But it is. And I mean, I think a lot of people wonder, okay, so what's the catch? Is it too good to be true? How are they able to do this? How would you answer that? Because it's like, wait, so they're going to give me up to $1,100 or 110,000 points for opening a no fee account? So
they are.
How?
You should do it. Everyone watching it, that's the deal. It's take $1,100 for seeing if you like this alternative to business banking. And I guess how they do it, like acquisition costs for banks in general for new customers can be really high. That's why we saw like as soon as COVID kicked off, a lot of banks just shut down acquisition. They're like, we're just going to try and service our current customers. We're not going to try and do anymore. Like it's an easy way for them to tighten their budget. I don't know how much it costs to buy like all the billboards in an airport or every back of a taxi in Manhattan. And like we see banks do that all the time. And while there's no fees for the account management, which to be honest, like I don't know that it really costs the banks anything or much of anything these days to be doing online account management like this. It's not like you're going in and schlepping in rolls of coins or like other things that incur great cost and labor to a bank. And they're making money off of your swipe fees. So if you're making lots of transactions and you're doing lots of ride share and they're taking, what does MasterCard charge as an interchange fee?
I mean, on World Elite's what, 2%, something around that? And I mean, I think, and the other thing is this is just intended to be a disruptive thing in the market. I mean, how do you make a splash when you're introducing a completely new product that people don't understand? It's the same reason, well, in somewhat the same reasons. I mean, the Chase Sapphire Reserve, did they have to have a 100,000 point bonus when it launched? Well, no. I mean, it certainly created a lot of buzz and hype. And I think similarly here, this is a completely new type of product. So it's not just a new product, but the whole type of thing they're offering is new and not understood. So I think that's part of the right. reason. I do not think we're going to see 110,000 point or bonus this big months down the line. I mean, it's only going to last so long because it's very, 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 very generous. And that's why we're talking a lot about it, because it actually is ridiculously generous. When is the last time we saw a bonus on anything that offered over 100,000 points, let alone with no credit pull, no fees, no anything?
Right. And I think
that works. I
whatever,
think.
Some concerns like Brex as a company is super well funded. Like they're in the Bay Area and they're positioned as being, the startup for startups and really wanting to be at that point where they can be the financial services company for all, for the next Facebook and the next Google and the next Apple. So they have very sizable balance sheets. And
I just saw something because I was Googling this stuff. I'm not a very good Googler, but I was doing that, and they got a bunch more funding last year around the start of the pandemic, and they said this is great because it allows us to go on the offensive while all other companies basically are going on the defensive during this time. So that's a really unique growth opportunity for them because other companies are not in that position right now. So take part in it and get on board, I think.
Man, Ben, that is not a great closing pitch.
I'll put it on a billboard.
So, hi guys. I love that Brian just showed up. He's like, is this the timeshare presentation? Yes and no, because the difference is that unlike timeshares, this is not a scam.
Let me tell you, when I was like 8, I convinced my parents to get a timeshare, which was of course the worst decision ever. Yes, so I can say in retrospect, having been the unfortunate person that convinced other people to suffer with a timeshare. It's like, oh, vacation for life, but then it's also something you can never get rid of. And actually, I'm like, oh, great, you told us this would be the best investment ever, so will you just take it back? They're like, nope.
No. Yeah, I actually had a conversation with my mom about that the other day. She's like, well, when I die, I'll just leave you my timeshare. And I was like, well, first of all, that's like 40 years down the road because my mom is not 65 yet. It's been a problem with the COVID vaccine. And like, second of all, I absolutely do not want to inherit your timeshare because there is no way I'm paying like $6,000 a year in maintenance fees or whatever garbage it is until the end of time. Like, I don't spend that much on travel as it is. That's what miles and points are for. So I'm not committed to.
So yeah, it's a timeshare presentation, I guess, for something that's actually useful. And timeshare presentations, they offer an incentive. Here, the incentive is 110,000 points. So, that's the good thing is though it's a virtual timeshare presentation because otherwise, they like close the door and then when you say no, but then they like bring the manager in and then the manager's manager and then they play good cop, bad cop.
So it sounds like you've done this more than once.
We did it a few times. This is my memory of as being an 8-year-old, and then it's a very,
I remember also about that age, like several timeshare presentations in Maui and in like Tampa, Orlando area. So I guess maybe it was just every time we went on vacation.
They tell you it's just a brief presentation to tell you about a great opportunity. I mean, it's a good deal, but not the timeshare, but the presentation because they give you some incentive. So, yes. Anyway, that's
okay.
Any questions about?
Hang on. Sorry. My sister who never calls just called and then said, call me. So we may have to go.
Well, I mean, I think anyway, we covered most things.
So, yeah. So I think that is good for Brex. It is actually that good. 110 bajillion points. Pretty easy. No credit check. Yeah.
And a great account you'll actually probably want to keep. So take a look at
yeah.
If you have any questions. Otherwise, we have an FAQ post you can yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and then as you guys have more questions or as people are asking you about it, definitely send them our way. Like, this is new, it is different, it can be a little confusing, and it actually is this good of an offer, and we haven't had an offer this good for a while. So I get it. Like, there's a lot of questions. So I know a lot of people are too shy to ask them on the live stream. So feel free and like comment on a blog post, or you can ask us not on Facebook, but if you ask on Twitter or on Ask Lucky or on the blog, we'll see it. But Facebook comments are a black hole, TBH. So
thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Bye.